this one chord. See, I don't know what I'm doing.
I was just getting into it, Sam.
So wait, that's you actually playing.
Do you remember on Sesame Street when the guy used to like slam his head onto the piano? That's what I feel like sometimes with just this one chord right here. It's like all three of my fingers do not fit in there. Well, I mean they do, but I have to really think about it. So it's not like I haven't got the groove down yet on that one chord. Maybe I'll write a new song being three bars of or three chords. It's not really a song. It's a ditty. And speaking of ditties, we have Corey Andalora here. I don't know if that actually made any sense, that segue, but welcome everybody to the Maple Syrup Show. We are here. It is a Wednesday night, 9:00 p.m. Eastern Time here in London, Ontario. And Kat is out there in the Pacific Northwest, and it's 6:00. Corey, where are you located right now?
I'm in Vermont, so I'm also East Coast.
Okay, so you're also in the East Coast. And is that where you hail from, Vermont?
I do not. I moved here about 12 years ago.
Okay. And before that, you said you were in...
So I grew up in central New York, so near Syracuse region, and went to school in Rochester and worked there for a while, and then took a job in Vermont, and that's why I'm here now.
Ah, I see. And where in Vermont are you?
Burlington, so off of like Lake Champlain, just south of the border.
Do you also think that Vermont maple syrup is better than Canadian maple syrup?
Oh, controversial.
So I actually, I'm fine with New York maple syrup even. So, yeah, so I'm nobody likes me. Our apples are better too. I'm going to go in New York.
Because Jess and I have a very big ongoing battle about Vermont versus Quebec maple
it's
syrup.
all good. I don't.
You don't discriminate?
Don't discriminate against any of the regional syrups.
Equal opportunity syrup. I like it.
That's right.
There you go. So, Corey, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got into gaming and, why you do what you do.
So, I grew up with three brothers. And so one of the things we enjoyed doing is playing board games. We played a lot of the ones like, that you might consider as like the classics like Hero Quest and Risk and all those kind of games that really kind of got you into the hobby. Mm-hmm. And we even messed around with like leftover cardboard boxes and played around and made our own games. It was like one of the things I enjoyed doing. And then as I got older, I discovered some tools that made it easier, like print-on-demand services and stuff, and got into that. And I did a design contest, my first one, 15 years ago, and didn't go anywhere. I did another one and I became a finalist. I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. And but then I got busy, but I bumped into someone, Donnie Coleman, who I work with a lot now. And
hi, Donnie.
Hello, Donnie. We decided to do a contest together. And it was a challenge. It was like an 18-card game on the GameCraft.com, something simple. And we came up with a game called Capital Vices that we submitted. Didn't win, but we're like, okay, well, what next? And we decided, well, this Kickstarter thing, this seems to be becoming a thing. A lot of games on there. And so in 2018, I think we decided, all right, let's take a go at it and decide to put this game out there, to learn about the business a little bit, learn about what's it take to do the full process from design to publishing and just, then eventually delivery. And, it was a modest Kickstarter, like 100 and some odd backers, but it was also very low risk because it was just a 20 card game by the time we eventually released it. We learned a lot. We learned that we liked the design side of things. So we since then have stuck to just design. But I think it was a great experience to kind of see the whole pipeline and understand it. So when you're talking to publishers, you know what they're talking about and everything, and about components and delivery and all that. And so we had our first game get released last year called Mission Control Critical Orbit.
Right.
This guy here. So it's a cooperative, asymmetric, real-time roll and write game. So you have 4 players. They're all doing something different, working together. The idea is that there's an astronaut who's running out of oxygen, and the mission control players have to give them the resources to restore that oxygen. And it's like 20-minute timed game. So that's a lot of fun. And, that's been doing pretty well. It's getting good reviews. I also entered a contest so this is all during like the lockdown era. So that game there, specifically, that it was originally designed for a contest where only one person had to own the game and everyone else could play it remotely. So that's like how the theme came along. One person is an astronaut and everybody's rolling and writing and trying to save them. And it developed from there. And then another contest that came along, Weird Giraffe was doing a contest for card games based on one of their properties. So I chose Fire in the Library. If you're not familiar with that game, it's a bag building game where you pull tokens out of a bag, push your luck, and if you grab too much fire, the library burns down, and that's how you bust it.
That's never a good thing.
And so I decided to come up with a game where I decided, how did that fire start? And I came up with Explosion in the Laboratory. And in this game, it's the story of you're mixing chemicals in the laboratory adjacent to said library until eventually it explodes and causes that fire. So it's a push your luck card game in the world of Fire in the Library. And this was on Backer Kit, and it's been delivered to backers. And I believe it's coming. If you look at like retailers, it's on pre-order there. So this is coming around now too. And so, and then I have a couple other games, with other publishers still in the works. And that's more or less my story.
Okay, cool. And what do you do in your day job? You're in Vermont, but what do you do?
I'm a software developer by trade.
Nerd. Okay, got it.
They all are.
Yeah, a lot of us are, right?
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
It does. It does. It makes so much sense.
So Corey, we brought you here today for a very special reason, And to give everybody who's out there a little bit of context about why we're talking about what we're talking about today, is that Kat and I went out for dinner in Niagara Falls with a bunch of other people while we were at the gathering. And we went to a restaurant called the Polish Nook. And the Polish Nook is exactly what you think it would be. It is a bar at the front, a hall at the back, and they serve a wonderful, actually a really nice plate of pierogi and golovchi.
That was so good.
And sauerkraut and, of course, sausage. And by the end of it, you have dessert, coffee, and that meal, and you're like $17 poorer. That's it. But
really good
there.
That's a good deal.
We saw these
and
signs.
soup.
Oh yeah, and soup.
And
right?
really nice soup.
With dessert. The dessert was actually really cool. It was a pumpkin pie ice cream. So it's ice cream shaped in a wedge, like pumpkin pie with
a crust.
Didn't it have a crust? It was lovely. I don't like pumpkin pie, but I enjoyed that quite a bit. Anyway, so we were standing around after we had been waiting for our table. Because there were 11 of us, 12 of us, as what happens at the gathering. You say, hey, we're going for dinner. And then everybody just kind of gloms on. And you go, it's wonderful. But we were standing there looking at the walls because, there's nothing else to look at. And there were these signs for Dyngus Day. Dyngus, Dyngus Day. Dyngus Day. And we're like, what is that? And apparently the Polish Nook is an official sponsor of Buffalo's Dyngus Day celebrations. And so we're like, this sounds weird. This doesn't sound real. This can't be real. And
we thought it was an April 1st thing at first.
Yeah, through the magic of Google, we found out that it was, in fact, a real thing. So, Corey, seeing as you are from kind of the area, and I think your dad is from the Buffalo area, what is Dyngus Day and why are we talking about it?
So, yeah, Dyngus Day, coincidentally, it did land on April 1st this year.
Oh, that's why I was so distrustful of it. I saw the date and I was like,
but its date changes because it is the Monday after Easter. So,
got it.
Wherever Easter Sunday is, it will be the next Monday. That happened to be April 1st this year. And so, yes, it was kind of buried by April Fool's Day. When I was celebrating it, most people thought I was joking.
Do you celebrate Dingus Day like every year?
As of the past couple of years,
Okay.
I've gotten really into it. It's become a household. My kids get excited about it because I make a big deal out of it.
So what do you do? What do you do?
Oh, well, I mean,
tell us about the history behind Dingus Day.
First of all, Dingus Day, like I said, is the Monday after Easter, and it is a Polish holiday, Polish-American holiday, celebrating, the end of Lent and the start of spring. And it involves rituals of splashing or spraying, your crushes or flirting by splashing them with water to tell them you like them. And also, you hit each other with pussy willow branches. See, I got one here.
It escalates. It escalates.
We gently tap each other with them. We try not to like sword fight. But the kids can get a little bit crazy sometimes. Enjoying some Polish food, as you mentioned, kielbasa, sauerkraut, pierogies. I attempted to make a very poor version of kalaki this year, which is a type of dessert.
It did not go over well?
No, it went well. I think, I kind of shortcutted it by getting like pre-made dough and stuff.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Polka music is, we have that playing all day. Whether my kids again enjoy that or not, I have it playing.
Just tell them that Weird Al is polka music.
Weird Al does do polka music, so that would work.
Mm-hmm.
I've found there's a lot of inappropriate polka songs, and I have to skip a lot.
Oh,
inappropriate for children anyway.
Racy polka songs?
But they're fun. No, not that. Adult themed, maybe.
Well, that's what I meant, like racy, like.
Oh, racy, yeah.
Yeah. Not racist.
Risque.
Risque. That's a good word too. Yeah.
But it's all fun, and it's just something to do. It's a Buffalo tradition because they have a good sized Polish community in Buffalo region. I know it's celebrated heavily in Cleveland as well.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably the two big ones in the U.S. And then there's a couple other spots, but we happen to be.
We were reading up on it. It's like I think the biggest celebrations like in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or something.
That's possible. I don't know.
Chicago has some too. It sounds like, obviously this follows the trail of immigration from the East Coast a little bit to the Midwest, right? And there you go. And it doesn't go much further past that. So areas that are maybe a little bit to the north and probably a little bit cold and, maybe a little bit like Poland.
I think they even have like school off in those regions, right?
Really?
Some of them, like it's because it's so big. They have a parade. Awesome. It's a big celebration in these cities. Not where I live now, although I did find a pub nearby apparently had a Dingus Day event. Although they did it on a Saturday, so it was very weird.
So it was like kind of fake Dingus.
Yeah, right.
Right. So okay, now I have to ask you: does your family escalate to crockery?
Yes.
I'm not sure I know what crockery is.
Like plates.
Plates.
Oh.
Apparently the women's response in some cases, I've just been reading the article, in some cases the women can just respond with like water, but in other cases they throw plates.
I believe I read that.
I'm into the plates.
But I think that might be like the true, like if you go into like in the way they celebrate it in Poland, I think that might be how far it goes. They also like dress up as like bears and stuff. Like it gets.
Yeah, I'm reading the article.
They do even more things if you're celebrating it in Poland.
If you were authentically celebrating Dingus Day, you'd be dressed up like a bear, blocking crockery that's getting thrown at you by your crush.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Now, everybody out there who's watching may still be wondering, okay, so why are you talking about this? Well, it's because Corey made a game, everybody. Corey made a game about Dingus Day.
Coincidentally, I did. So Button Shy I like doing contests. They had a contest.
I'm getting that vibe.
Where it was like, do a game based on a holiday, right? And there's going to be the usual Christmas, like Thanksgivings, the Halloweens.
I made a Halloween one.
And you said to yourself, I bet that nobody will do a Dingus Day.
And that's exactly where my head was at. I was like, I'm going to make a Dingus Day game.
Your head was all about the dingus. I get it.
Yeah. And, but, you can't just say Dingus Day on it. I wanted to include as
Embody
much
Dingus
Dingus
Day.
Day flavor as possible. So the game is about splashing the other players, and
Okay.
there's a polka card, and all the cards have various foods because it's basically a set collecting game where you're
Okay.
trying to collect the different foods that have different scoring criteria.
Yum.
And and then of course, no Dingus Day game would be complete without Pussy Willow.
Oh, and I see there are those wild?
And it is a wild card, yes, that
Okay.
can be used as any symbol. And
So since
yeah,
there
the
needs to be
idea
a
of this game
crockery
is
expansion.
you on your turn, you're actually take a card, but you're playing it into different collections. So you're splashing the other players. You're not necessarily keeping it for yourself. And it plays a lot like Between Two Cities, where if you're not familiar with that game, you're playing between players, not in front of players. Because at the end of the game, when it's finally over, you're scoring the set to your left and to your right because it's a communal game, and every player gets the lower of the two scores, and the highest of that wins the game.
So
a few more rules in there, but that's the gist.
If you know more about Dingus Day, can you play it better? Is like knowing the theme important?
It is not important. It's just a simple set collection game. I think it's like most good games with theme, it's enhanced if you know the theme. So I would say every good game doesn't require knowledge of the theme, but if you happen to know the theme, it's even better. For example, if you're a big birder like Donnie, you might, Donnie Coleman, as I mentioned, you might really enjoy Wingspan for all of its bird trivia in it. Someone like me, who's not a birder, still loves the game, but I don't read the flavor.
Right. Got it. Okay, so let's talk about contests because I think that's fascinating that, you have some games that are published and you're still doing contests. Why?
You know what? I think it's part of that itch to be challenged, right? It's a design challenge. Everybody loves like working off of something with a prompt. Some, that's
even Midjourney does, and ChatGPT does.
Yeah, yeah, they especially love it. And yeah, it helps motivate, but also gives you a deadline because I think we all know if you don't have one of those, a design is never finished. And with a contest, you must finish it at least to some degree by the time of that deadline, and put it in there. And secondly, I think if you do well in some of these things, it's kind of a little bit of a notoriety to when you speak to a publisher about the game, like, look, it won this contest, or it was a finalist in this contest. It gives it some merit that maybe they'll be willing to look at it sooner versus just off of a cold pitch.
Right.
And validation as well.
Yeah, I mean, I yes, to a degree, but I try not to think of not winning a contest as my designs are not valid. Like,
That's
I
true.
got just hit with the judge that liked it. Because at the end of the day, I like to make games that I would play. And if it's not a game that other people don't like, that's okay, because it's a game I would, and I want to make games I like, and hopefully others like them, and not only others like them and not myself.
Although, to be fair, like, yes, it hit with the judge, but I mean, that is exactly what we're doing, right? We're making things and we're hoping that they'll hit with enough people that they will sell, or that they'll hit with the people that we made them for as a gift, or whichever end of that we're working at. So from that perspective, it's nice to know that that particular group liked them. It doesn't mean that your game isn't good if it isn't picked up, but it is nice to know that you were able to target something and hit it.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Right? So that's the trifecta, right? Is I made a game I love and other people love it, and it
met the criteria.
Yeah,
that's always nice. I mean, that's one of the things I like about contests is, as you say, it gives you like some format and deadline kind of stuff and things like that. But it gives you this opportunity to put something that you haven't had a chance to make really perfect in front of people and see whether people agree that you're on the right track. Because a lot of people out there may not realize, but a lot of these contests, you can't submit something that's finished. In fact, in a lot of cases, you're not allowed to submit something that you already had ready. You're meant to make it specifically for this contest. And that's I think one of the scary things is, you have a month or 2 months or whatever to put together a game, and anyone who's done any real game development knows that's not long. That's not long at all. So, I mean, kudos to you for actually submitting that. I often use them as prompts, but I don't actually end up submitting the game.
What does often happen, I do end up like getting to a certain point and like, I'm just not going to make it through. But what will usually happen, whether I submit or not, is I think of an idea that I liked and take that one piece and put it into a different game later anyways. So often there's a mechanism that I think is really good, but maybe the rest I can throw out and use that mechanism somewhere else.
Well, that leads nicely into what was going to be my next question, because I do the same thing with contest games and things like that. I use them basically to get myself started on something, but often I'll take that concept and develop it in a different direction. So Dyngus Day, where's it going? Is there anything further from that you thought that you could develop more or possibly add crockery to?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously it could be, it's just a simple set collection game. It could be rethemed. I don't know. I kind of like where it's sitting though. I know that like if I took this to a Dyngus Day event and like, let's say I just printed 100 copies off, they would probably sell at an event, because while you're in that moment, you're going to like be collecting all things Dyngus Day. Right.
Yes. It's a set collection on a day when people are collecting everything. I mean, it's sort of, those things work very well together.
So I often have that thought, like, yeah, I could just like rattle off, print a bunch of these, and then literally go to a Dyngus Day event, and they would disappear, because it might never get played, but they would get bought.
I reckon they'd get played.
Yeah.
I reckon they would. That they feel like the kind of, they're nice and accessible. Being, light little card games, that's the kind of thing people do grab and just sort of go, you know what, let's do the thing.
It's also a great pub game. Like I brought it to a number of restaurants while we were out there, and you can just play it while you're waiting for your meal.
Sounds ideal.
So does Dyngus Day, like, does it have like a time frame, or is it just literally that one day?
It's just the Monday, as far as I know,
right
after Easter.
That's the boy half. According to everything that I've read, the girls get to respond on Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess there could be a Tuesday event as well. Yeah,
it's been combined now a lot more because, as usual, the men's things take precedence. But I tell you what, I'll be coming for you with crockery the day after.
Can you like? Can I decide the material of said crockery, or does it have to be porcelain?
No, crockery is by default made out of
croc.
Oh,
yes, it's made of croc.
Oh man, made of croc.
I mean, it's going to be something that smashes delightfully.
Oh boy, it sounds dangerous. Yeah.
Alara had some cool ideas actually about the ways in which this could work. So like you could get, those magnetic pieces. So we were talking about, Sen, I don't know if you've ever done board smashing. I don't think BJJ really does that, where you break.
Oh, well, no, I know what you do though. Yeah.
There are plastic, like reusable
breaking boards.
Yeah. And so those boards, the way that they fit together and fall apart not fall apart, but some of the beginner ones kind of do. You pretty much just need to tap them a little bit and they go, oh, you broke me. Mm-hmm. So using some of that technology maybe, or else the magnets that Alara was thinking of, like having the pieces so that they'll make a nice shattering thing, would definitely include the crockery in this game that you're going to make, Corey.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a good deluxe version. I don't hate the idea of a crockery expansion though. That's pretty fun.
Peter is saying that, or is assuming that crockery is short for getting hit with a crocodile.
So I feel like crockery and cutlery are words that don't necessarily get used that often in American English.
I think
I've noticed silverware is what people say generally instead of cutlery, even when they're talking about plastic, which I find really weird.
I took a summer job one time selling cutlery. So,
okay. Certainly West Coast, I've asked for cutlery and people have just looked at me like I was nuts.
Do you mean silverware?
Yeah.
Flatware?
And I'm like, no, I mean plastic cutlery, please.
I guess here, though, cutlery would be specifically knives.
Right.
a bunch of knives.
Whereas
and not
cutlery in
forks.
general is
Yeah.
it's not just like the cutler is the person who makes the knives, but cutlery in general is knives and forks and spoons and things.
Gotcha.
But what about flatware? What about flatware?
So flatware includes servingware, I believe,
Oh, does it?
as well.
Maybe.
I
Like
think.
you mean like plates and saucers and things. All right. Plastic flatware. Plasticware. Flasticware. Flaccidware. Wait.
That's
I think.
just flip flops, right?
Maybe.
This is going to a weird place. But I think plateware or dining sets are things that generally
Oh
get
yeah, like
used.
dinette sets, something like that. So when you get like a bunch of plastic or like paper plates, they're called something. Anyway, we're on a very big tangent because we're here to talk about Dingus Day, everybody. Dingus Day, which is the Monday after Easter, so not Easter Monday, but the Monday after Easter Monday, I guess. Really?
No, it's literally the next day.
It's literally Easter Monday.
Yeah.
It's also Easter Monday.
I mean, if you celebrate something called Easter Monday, sure.
So that's
we do not.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. So it's very interesting that is on the same day because Poland is quite Roman Catholic. They would celebrate Easter Monday. Huh, that's fascinating.
But it's not just Poland. Like I was just reading the Wikipedia, and it's a bunch of Eastern European places that do it, and they do their own thing
on Dingus
on
Day.
Easter Monday.
Oh,
but there's a lot of different stuff that's done to celebrate the end of Lent because Lent is such a big deal.
Yeah.
If you're someone who goes. So I suppose we should probably explain Lent to the people who are not people who might know what
Lent
that
is the 40-day period before Easter, in which you typically give up something. That should actually be something that you should give up, right? That is a sacrifice to give up. So if you're giving up like Coke or cola, if it's something you drink every day, that might be a sacrifice for some people. If
it
you
used
don't
to be
drink
red meat
Coca-Cola every day,
believe.
then it's not a sacrifice for you.
Yeah.
So, but I still think it's fascinating that these European countries and Eastern European countries, some of them who are quite religious, Orthodox, or Roman Catholic, that they are doing something else on Easter Monday.
Well, these all have their roots in pagan celebrations. And one of the main ways that the Christian religion in particular managed to get a foothold was basically absorbing pagan stuff like Easter itself into their rituals. So that works for me. Yes, Peter, meat on Friday, no meat on Fridays, but also they gave up meat for the whole of Lent. That was, and a lot of that was because it was the end of winter and there were a lot of scarcities and supplies and things like that, and so it made sense to give up on particular supplies to get you through those last few bits until it was officially spring.
So it'd actually be interesting to see what other holidays are on that particular day around the world, and then you can make a game for each of them.
I wonder where the word dingus comes from, because that's particularly interesting.
So I only from Wikipedia. They don't really know.
Not a primary source, people.
I know, but there was suggestions that it might have derived from a German word, which means owed back eggs. So, like for example, because you're collecting all the eggs on Sunday, you need to go the next day, give them back to who you took them from. So I forget. I don't want to butcher the pronunciation of the German word, but it's similar in structure, I guess. But again, that's one guess.
There was also, when I was reading it, one of the things that happens as well as on Dingus Day is that some people will call out especially women who have, not been good at housekeeping and all of those sorts of things, and threaten them with punishment. But if they have someone who will step in for them, or if they have painted eggs, they can buy off whoever it is that's coming for them with water and sand and switches and all kinds of things, and no longer get assaulted, which sounds fine. So there are some really interesting and weird. It'd be really cool to try and figure out where this originally came from.
Dingus Day or the word dingus?
The concept. Like,
Yeah, I
there
mean,
must have been a story at some point, where a young man, instead of pulling someone's hair, decided that he would throw water at her, and it worked.
yeah, I mean, apparently it's been celebrated since like 966 AD. So it wasn't really a pagan ritual. It was the origins are traced back to the baptism of Prince Mysko, apparently, who was a Polish prince. So, in the baptism celebration, interesting.
Well, in Buffalo, it only traces back to like 1960. So,
so interesting. See, this is the fascinating stuff that could only become a game, right? So, Corey, what other things would you look at and say that could be a game? How does that happen? Like daily for you?
it happens quite often where I'll see like a view somewhere I'm at and like, oh, there could be a game about this, or just an interesting concept that you read about, maybe something historical. Often things become ideas. I think I mostly make games about things I'm excited about, though. I've been trying forever. I'm a big BattleBots fan.
Oh, fun.
They build the robots and they fight each other. And I've
Gil
been trying to make
is a huge BattleBots fan too.
What's that?
Gil Hova.
Yeah. And so I've been trying to make a game around that for a while. Or just interesting, weird things. So, for example, going back to Game Crafter contest, Donnie and I submitted a game to that contest about this place in Vermont called Birdhouse Forest. And it's just these neighbors who had a ton of mosquitoes and other bugs that were just bothering them because they live by the lake up in that Grand Isles here. And they're like, well, let's build a bunch of birdhouses to lure birds in to eat all the bugs. So it's just this colorful portion of woods where there's birdhouses all over the place.
Oh,
and because one of the owners, it's just their backyard, one of the owners happens to be good at working with wood, decided to build a bunch of dinosaurs to put in there as well. So you can see from the road all these birdhouses and dinosaur structures and everything. It's just this very
birds are dinosaurs,
super cool spot. So we made a game about it.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs and birds.
Dinosaurs.
Basically, birds are dinosaurs. So
yeah, basically birds.
And none of them exist. Because birds aren't real.
Birds aren't real, of course.
So how does it play? Tell us about the game.
Okay, so in the game, you're building your backyard, and so the mechanism on this game is the cards can be rotated. They're squares in all 90 degrees, and it's kind of reverse tableau building. Well, sorry, reverse pattern drafting is what I like. So, and I call pattern drafting as game like Seven Wonders Duels, where you have to, if you don't know that game, there's like a certain pattern, and some cards are face up and some are face down, and you gradually pull them from that pattern. And you can't take a card until one's revealed. Ours is the opposite, where you have to build it some face up, face down, some face down into a pattern. And the face down cards are birdhouses, which give you a certain ability. And the face up are there's bugs in the corners. And depending on how you rotate it, you get all the bugs along the bottom edge. And so what will happen is as you build up, the new edge will layer over top old played edges, and you'll get those bugs that you played like from previous turns. So that's how you get
I love that.
And there's this forest that you're exploring, revealing birds. They'll show up, and you'll feed them the bugs to bring to your birdhouses to score points. And then the coolest factor is we took the little usually used for score tracking dials, and made them look like binoculars.
Oh, cute!
Because you're supposed to see the birds, and then you rotate it and get points every time you see the birds you care about.
This is great.
It combines those elements into so those are the different ways to score points in the game. And after everyone's done building their backyards with their cards, the game ends. High score wins.
Corey, I'm really angry with you.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
didn't show this to me at the gathering.
We had
This
it.
is
We had
this
it.
is 100% the kind of game I really enjoy. Although to be fair, the other game of yours is also 100% the kind of game I enjoy.
Dingus Day?
No. Yes, but no, the other one that I did actually play, because I didn't play Dingus Day because I didn't know you had it.
Yes.
The one about bees.
Yes, and I got really good feedback from yours and the others playing, and I've already made changes due to that. That's a game about making honey. So and most bee games, I feel like you're the bees, and you're just kind of moving around. And in this game, you're the beekeeper, and the bees happen to be moving around between your apiary, your garden, and a field, collecting pollen. And you're ultimately trying. It's a small engine building game where you're ultimately trying to get the bees to give you the tokens you need to fire off your engine and make that honey.
Yes, it's difficult, which
Yeah.
is good. It's not one of those ones where you're just sort of like, whatever, this is easy. I was like, oh, I can't figure out how to do it. How am I going to get this right? So it made me want to go. Basically, I want to play this again and figure out how to do it. And that kind of game.
Hey, whatever, anytime you want, we'll play.
Yeah. I'm really keen to see what you did, because see, that's one of the cool things about conventions in general, is that like you get to hang out with people and play like published games and play prototypes and things like that. But then at the next one, you get to see what they did, if it is an unpublished game, or you get to finally play their published game, which is super exciting. That's another thing I got to do at the gathering. I got to play some people's like brand new prototypes or like pre-production copies of some of their games and things like that. So
I have some news for you about the next gathering.
Oh.
Apparently, Dingus Day falls on the next gathering.
Oh my goodness, let's smash plates on people.
So for some reason, Easter is late next year in 2025, and Dingus Day is on, I looked it up, is on April 21st.
Oh, that is the 4th day of the gathering.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which means, I guess,
you know what
Easter
we're doing.
is also during the gathering.
Which is actually great for me in a way, so that's cool.
Yeah, it also means that we're more likely to have time off and stuff like that for the people who do get holidays over that period.
Yeah, so April
in particular
18th is Good Friday. Easter Sunday is on April 20th. Easter Monday is on the 21st.
So there you go. You'll get to celebrate Dingus Day on
the 22nd. We're smashing plates on you.
I'll bring my armor.
Yes. It's okay. It's going on your face.
Perfect.
That's where.
Hey, as long as I get to eat some, that I want that pumpkin ice cream you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, well, hopefully they have it again. I'm definitely going. That was a great restaurant.
Yeah,
Polish Nook, you killed it.
Polish Nook. I'm gonna have. I'm
so good.
You're gonna have to go.
Where was it though?
It was like off in the Wop somewhere.
Yeah, only about 5 minutes away.
Oh, so not even that far. All right.
No, I wouldn't walk there. Like we all drove, but it wasn't a long drive.
No. It's New York. So it's Niagara Falls, New York. So you're gonna drive in some weird places. it's honestly it's like a restaurant bar in the middle of a neighborhood.
Yeah,
like
slightly like there were bits of the neighborhood where I was like,
well,
so did we take the right turn, and then it was fine again.
Industrialized space next to it, and then there's like houses where people live, and then there's the Polish Nook.
That sounds very New York.
Yeah, and then there's more houses around it. So it's so interesting. It's so interesting, like the land usage around that whole space. Very strange. Very strange.
It's a super cute little restaurant as well. Like the main dining area, they've got it all decorated so that it feels like a village square kind of feeling. You know, like I don't know if you've been to Europe at all, but they have a lot of like the outdoor seating. They have these kind of pergolas with draped things around them and things. And they've done that on the inside. So there's like this pergola style structure with all the tables around underneath it and sort of lights and things. And it was delightful. It's such a charming wee place. I was just really happy that we went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was one of the gloms. I was like, oh, I should probably eat. And then I saw a group of people and I was like, can I glom onto your group? And they're like, we're getting Polish food. And I'm like,
it's all good.
It's good.
So Corey, what are your hopes and dreams for Dingus Day? The game, not the day.
You know, I think I've already met them. Like someone happened to be excited about Dingus Day, and I mentioned hey, I happened to make a game about it, and it turned into this. So like,
Oh, so somebody at the gathering was interested in it, or
I think you all.
We were. So what happened was
God.
I posted about it, and then someone else was posted on my post like, "Oh my God, Corey, look," because I posted the picture of the poster, and then Corey posted a picture of his game,
Yeah.
and then I showed the picture of his game to Sean and a bunch of the other people who had been there for lunch, for dinner with us. And it was Donnie. Hi, Donnie.
Donnie's taking the
And then, so sorry, I haven't got the post in front of me. I can't remember who it was. But then I showed it, and the whole group was like, "Ah, this is so exciting! There's a game about Dingus Day." So, yeah, that had to be a show, basically. Hi, Donnie.
So like, I don't know. This shows me that, you know, if you have enough interest in Dingus Day, you can get excited that a game happens to exist for it. Because I can say with 99.9999% certainty that this is the only Dingus Day game that exists.
The one and only.
Yeah.
Are there, how many copies of there are?
Only this one, I guess. It's a print and play though.
Literally the one and only game about Dingus Day.
I think you know what to do. I think you know that you need to get this published in time for the next gathering.
I think you're
Bring
right.
it to the gathering and have people buy it from you, because they will.
I think you're right. Especially if it's going on during the gathering. I think that's too good of an opportunity to give up.
I think we pretty much need to have like a Dingus Day dinner and just take over the Polish Nook as well.
Right. I think you're right. I got to figure out, I got to make sure I schedule that I'm actually out there during that portion. Because, you know, it's hard to go the full 10 days or whatever it is. So
it is very difficult.
Yeah, I was very aware of how lucky I was to do that. Most people were in and out and so forth. I was very, very lucky to be able to stay for the whole thing that year. I don't know if I'll be able to. I'm going to make it happen.
There you go. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think it's worth spending all of my holidays on that one thing. It was pretty cool. And you know, there's like this big water thing nearby that you can go look at. Like water falling kind of thing. That's kind of cool.
I mean, it's the ultimate Dingus Day, really. If we all took the Maid of the Mist.
Oh yeah, you get all the water.
And then we can just smack each other with branches while we're on there.
On the boat getting splashed by the falls.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that. I did that this year. It was really damp.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't think it would be that much, but it was hardcore. Like I was like, okay, it's gonna stop now, right? And they were like, no, we're gonna go further in. And I'm like, are we actually going under them? Because that falls quite hard. I'm not sure I want to go all the way. And they're like going closer and closer. I'm like, and I was right basically in the bow of the boat as well. And I'm going, I have regrets. I was soaked. It was epic.
I haven't done it in a long time, but it's definitely an experience for, you know, that I recommend to anyone.
I just cannot recommend it enough. It was ridiculous. You know, there are so many stupid like tourist things that you can do that are great fun because they're stupid tourist things.
But not Evan.
Not Evan. No, Evan didn't do it. Evan, I have your prototype. Don't forget. See, there's an interesting story there. I was like, oh, I might or might not bring this prototype. And then I decided, I'm not sure. I don't think I've got enough room for it. And then I got to the gathering and someone was actually interested in it. So I was like, oh, Evan's coming. I'll ask Evan if he can bring it for me. Evan doesn't reply. I go looking and think, oh, well, actually, Jeb's also coming. Maybe Jeb can bring it. And Jeb's like, yes, absolutely. I will make sure that I can find some way of making it fit. And I was like, mint, thanks, bro. So George drops it off to him. It's all sorted. And then Evan's like, oh, I just saw this. I'm like, but then Evan leaves one of his prototypes at the gathering. And who brought it home for him?
Rescue.
Just going to keep pointing that out forever.
He didn't leave it on Dingus Day. It's a whole other day that he left it on.
Yes, it was a different day.
So if Dingus Day falls within the gathering, yeah, you're right. I mean,
and in fact, it does.
You should 100% hold a Dingus Day game tournament that day.
I mean, this is a revelation I'm having just now. that this is going to have to be a thing.
Yeah, I'm 100% in.
Heard it here first.
Yep.
Yep.
It's going to be like the hit of next year's gathering. I'm very excited.
Every 3 to 4 years because Dingus
Yeah.
Day may not fall within the gathering all those other years. You
That's
never know.
That's right. It's kind of like the eclipse we just witnessed.
Kind of like the totality. You're
Or
right.
failed to witness. Did you guys get to see
Oh,
it?
we got to see
I
it
got to see
beautifully in Vermont.
It was lovely here in Canada.
Yeah,
Well,
It
in
was
my
it was
area.
clouds here in Portland.
yeah, that's
That-
unfortunate.
No, you're not even on the track, really.
Oh, I was supposed to get 25% of the eclipse, but I
Oh,
got 0.
Oh.
So I felt a little bit
25.
ripped off.
Did you see XCXD? Where it's like the totality is awesome. Is like the as you get to the totality, the awesomeness is here. Everywhere else, it's like just at the bottom, like baseline awesome.
It's just partial sun the rest
Yeah.
of the way.
You're just
Yeah.
partial,
It was not even noticeable
which
because
is
it was
very
so
actually
cloudy.
natural out in Portland when you think about it. Partial sun. So basically, you just had Portland.
I mean, it was
Whereas
pretty much
here-
like there was no change in light state or anything. It was
Exactly.
just
Whereas here, when we were on the central track of the totality, you got like awesome stuff.
Yeah,
that
I
must
had
have
friends
been
in
really disconcerting. I would
Rochester
love to do that.
who were in totality, but also was very cloudy.
Yes,
And
it's funny.
but it got very dark.
Octavian showed me the picture of his view of the totality. He had driven with his son, who's very into astronomy, from not Vermont, from Connecticut. And so they drove, and they're going to look at the totality. They got their glasses and everything. And he shows me this picture that is literally a hole in the clouds, like just like this little hole cut out of the clouds where you can see a sliver of the moon and a sliver of the sun. And that is all they saw of that whole thing, that whole day. Because other than that, it was 100% cloud cover.
Aw,
Or Rochester.
sadness.
That's sad.
And Tony's like, I stared right at it. And and then I think Matthew, and his family, they're going to go to Iceland in 4 years, I believe, or X number of years, whenever the totality is there.
I want to do that.
And then maybe from there on, they'll follow the totality around the world and just see it many times in many different places. Because it moves, right?
I gotta say, when before seeing it, I was like, yeah, that's gonna be cool. You know, I'm excited. But I think it's hard to describe how awesome it is until you actually finally see one, because it's like you said, the rest of the eclipse is kind of like, yeah, the sun's getting smaller, and then suddenly it's glowing like a ring in the sky, and it's like, okay, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, just angles. It's just angles.
Yeah.
It just it's something that I've got on my list of I really want to do this thing. But like I was pretty sure Portland was going to deliver 0. And I was also like, I can't really afford to go to Niagara early, which is lucky because Niagara got exactly the same as we did. It got like gray cloud.
There.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get gray, and because the morning was totally cloudy, and then by the afternoon it was like pure blue sky. So it's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then you just saw these like long shadows, and then nothing. It's pretty.
That's so cool. I mean, I even tried to do the thing that I was told to do, where like you hold up things that have holes in them or whatever, and the light will go through. There was so little light that even like I cut a hole in some cardboard, and even holding it right like this far from
I see,
the surface, there was still no light. Like I couldn't see the outline of it, and I was like,
give up.
This is dumb.
You're just gonna have to wait till the next one.
Yeah. I did try though. I tried really hard.
But you know
Like,
what
I was
does
like, I wanna
happen every year,
participate.
Kat? Dingus Day.
Yes.
Every year.
Dingus Day
Never
never
lets you down. It
never
always
lets you
shows
down
up.
because of cloud cover.
It's
Dingus
never
Day
going to
is
give
like
us up either.
the best day
Oh
ever.
no! Did we just get rickrolled?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
Dingus Day, I'll never let you down. Maybe.
That's the song.
You're never
you
gonna
play
get
for your
It's
next,
definitely going to
outing.
run around and hurt you though.
Well, yes, with willow branches and crockery.
Yes.
I
I
will have to
probably
get Evan
actually
to sing
won't
it
be
sometime.
throwing crockery at anyone. I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a bad idea. The crockery might be taking it a bit too far.
Just have people sign waivers.
Or maybe we could like make, crockery shaped cookies or something.
Yeah, well,
Ooh.
things that crack on impact that don't hurt you.
Plates. Oh,
No.
that don't hurt.
Like
So,
those prop ones. Where do you get those prop ones from movies, right? That are made
Right?
of sugar.
Oh,
That'd be
I mean,
fun.
that's just.
candy glass, probably.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just isopropyl. No, this is the wrong word. What's the word I'm trying to find? Oh no, brain has stopped. What's it called? The sugary stuff that they
Candy
use.
glass.
Starts with maybe an I. Maybe it doesn't. Oh no.
I'm sure.
All right.
So, what's next for you, Corey? After the hit that is Dingus Day, the card game, what is next?
I mean, I might be able to retire after that. No, we, as mentioned, I've taken some games back from the gathering after some testing, and I'm tweaking them and getting those in a better spot. Trying to pitch and get some more games picked up. I have a couple, solo and with Donnie that I work on, and we're always looking for playtesters. So yeah, that's always good. And I don't know, just the next contest. Waiting for the next contest that calls to me.
Also, there is help from the comments. It is an I word. It's isomalt.
Oh,
Isomalt.
Donnie did first spell it Somali, which is helpful.
Those are two different things, Donnie, just so you know.
One of them is slightly more transparent than the other.
That's right.
And one of them will probably hurt more when you strike someone with it.
Right. Okay. And what's the contest you're going
Isomalia. Isomalia. Sorry.
That's why isomalia is when you fill a glass or a bottle made of the candy glass, sugar glass, with wine. And that becomes that. So, sorry, Corey, what is the next contest you think you'll go in? And what contests do you actually recommend for new designers to take part in?
Ooh, great questions. There's so many, I think, that show up on Board Game Geek. I for whatever reason, I think it's because I'm used to the tools, do a lot of the ones at the Game Crafter. They're interesting. They're pretty, I think the deadlines are pretty straightforward. And it gets you used to using their tools. I think so. That's a good thing, because when you do kind of want to start designing your own, it is a pretty good source for putting together prototypes. Because they have so many options of making different size cards. And then if you get good at cutting the chipboard on your own and coming up with the laser, patterns, that can be super useful, because then, really you can start building interesting things. Like I built, something like this here one time. It's like a cryptic.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. You just kind of come up with different weird, cool stuff, seeing what the limits of their tools are. For those that might not have them, like most of us don't have $5,000 lasers in our basements. I have a 3D printer at least, so that's a good start. But I think that those contests are good. And honestly, just follow your favorite publishers, and sometimes they put out these calls every now and then. I was a big Weird Giraffe fan, and am a big Weird Giraffe fan, and they happen to put out that contest. Weird Giraffe Games is the publisher of Fire in the Library. And so, yeah, they happen to have a contest, and I'm like, cool, I like their games. I want to do that.
And Button Shy reasonably often has little contests and things. So Button Shy is all about the 18 card game vibe. So there's always something interesting and challenging about those. Whether you actually succeed or not is a different thing, but I think they're very good to look at anyway.
What's also really good about the Button Shy one, now that you mentioned it, is the Discord community is really, really helpful and engaging. So if you just want to throw your ideas out there, or you want to, hey, get someone to play test it, you're probably going to find someone. So yeah, those contests are really good. And also, it's an 18 card game.
Yeah,
it's really fun to come up with, what can I do with these 18 cards?
It's very challenging. Mm-hmm. An 18 card game for me feels like it's sort of a level 2 design in a lot of ways. Like you do need to have some understanding of design to be successful at it, which is why I'm struggling. I think simple designs are some of the hardest ones.
Yeah. Oh no, I would agree that the simpler the design is, the harder it actually is, for lots of reasons, right? So if you play a lot of mass market games, and some of you might be saying, why would I do that? They're awful games. And well, they're not. They're made for a different audience than you. And understanding what those audiences want it's hard. It's easier to understand what people like you want, right? So when you are trying to figure out what can I make for somebody who likes Monopoly, and you say, well, you know what, Catan is better than Monopoly, so I'm just going to make something like Catan. Well, that's too much for somebody who likes Monopoly. But you're saying, well, but they should like that thing. Well, they're not ready for that thing. So you have to kind of get out of your own head and, be a little less egocentric and focus your powers of empathy on what other people may want.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing I will add a caveat to contests is just be aware that you may be working on spec in some cases. Like it may feel like spec work, which is work that isn't paid for. So just make sure that you read the rules of the
Yes.
contest very clearly as to who owns the rights to what,
Yes.
what the prize may or may not be, all that kind of stuff. Like, in fact, I would rather do a design contest where there were no prizes, like absolutely no prizes. Why? Because so often that leads down the road of very weird legalities, right? So anyway, I'm not a personal fan of contests. I'm sure I've told people why in the past, but that is one of the reasons why. But I don't think it should dissuade you from using the prompts like Kat does,
Yes.
or even going ahead and entering them, as long as you are going in with eyes wide open and you know what's up.
Yeah.
The Game Crafter ones are pretty good that way. I'm reasonably
Yeah, because
sure
they're
that
more
there's no risk.
community based anyway.
Yeah.
It's usually started
Yes.
by somebody in the community.
I think also make sure have expectations going in. Like, oftentimes you won't get any feedback, or for example, and you should need to know that going in, because you put a lot of effort into this, and at the end you're like, I didn't win, but what did you think of it? Well, you might never find out, and you need to understand that that's a possibility going in.
That's really important. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people who've been extremely upset with not understanding why their game didn't place, and I can understand why. I've also had really unhelpful feedback, like didn't like it. Like, okay. Like that's just as useful as great game. There's nothing for people to use in that feedback.
Yeah, you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
Usually the ones that have an entry fee tend to be a little more professional,
And you most likely will get feedback, but I would say, but again, know that if you're approaching one that you're gonna have to spend money.
Yep.
That's money.
And you might even be more unhappy when you get feedback that doesn't
right
with
exactly
what your senses are.
Yeah.
And a lot of the contests, everybody, they're going to have to whittle stuff down. And they whittle it down based on several criteria. It might be a video, might be a sell sheet, might be a combination of that, might be the elevator pitch, might be anything to whittle down what they are willing to judge or interested in judging. Does not mean it's the best game. It just means it's something somebody's willing to spend time doing.
Yeah, there's a high chance your game doesn't even get played.
Right?
Oh yes, it's deeply unlikely that all of the games
need to understand that as well.
Yeah.
Going in.
Yeah,
that's a very good point as well, Corey, because I guess people think that.
Played, you may get only feedback on your video or your sell sheet or something like that.
Or even just something as simple as we didn't even bother to look at it. We didn't like the look of it, or it didn't fit our basic criteria, or those sorts of things.
Well, I mean, that's a different thing. Like if you don't fit the basic criteria, that's kind of on you as the designer. You should read the criteria of entry.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm sorry. They're like not the ones that they actually specify. The things like, oh yeah, we were looking for this and we didn't tell you.
Oh well, that's on the contest then.
Yes, exactly.
They should have said something about that.
Yeah.
In the first place. Anyway.
So there's pros and cons.
Yes.
Pros and cons.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So be careful, look after yourself, and have fun, kind of thing.
Yeah. At the end of the day, just make sure you're having fun. I think that's the best advice you can give. Is like, if it's not fun, don't do it.
And I'll tell you another thing, guys. Very few contests lead to anything but that contest. Like, you could be the award winner from XYZ contest and your game may never get published.
Yeah.
Because a game that wins a contest may be very different than a game that can sell.
Yep.
Yes.
For whatever those reasons are, right? So just be aware that, the marketplace and what wins awards may be totally different unless it's a marketplace related award. Like the selling product. That's a statistic, right? Whereas a judge contest is quite different.
Games like the Spiel des Jahres was one of the exceptions where that's actually like the game of the year, and those types of ones I think do influence to a certain extent whether
those are
people will
already
buy the
Well,
game.
yes, but
games.
those are published already.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's not a
yes, but they're
design
still
contest.
contests.
But it's not a design contest.
I suppose that's true. That's a good point. Yes, but there are others along those. Is Cardboard Edison one of those?
Cardboard Edison's a design contest,
Yeah.
but I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever
Which,
seen
by the
anybody
way, we are a
celebrating
finalist in
because
that
of the
one,
fact
too.
that it's a
Are
cardboard.
you?
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Our game Single Sort is a finalist in that contest.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's another one I forgot to mention.
Yeah, wonderful. But again, like I said, there's games that have been like the finalists in like the Canadian Game Design Award, and they're struggling to find a publisher because while it's a cool game, it's like no publisher can.
So I think a lot of times also new designers don't look at their component count.
Sure.
Right? Like, oh, this game has 300 dice.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Well, they designed it on TTS, right?
Yeah, that's cool, but that's why I was mentioning about we ran our own like Kickstarter one time.
Yeah,
you see that slide and you're like, yeah, this is important. We didn't make money once we finally shipped it all out because it's like we didn't factor all these things in, and now we know we didn't lose money, fortunately, but we like basically broke even and learned a lot. And so, but you get that perspective like of it's hard to like make a game and be profitable when there's all of these variables, and component count is just one of them. And so consider that and try to like find out what you can trim out. I know that you, the designer, think you need all those components, but if you're expecting it to get picked up, you might not need to. Don't be married to them, I guess.
That's very good advice. Yeah.
Just you can watch past episodes with any of the Panda reps on Maple Syrup or Panda's own channels about designing to your manufacturing constraints. It's very useful to think about when you're thinking about, well, what's going to be the MSRP of this? Well, then what's the landed cost and what's the manufacturing cost and
how heavy is the game?
How much would you pay for your game?
Yes. Yeah. Would you be willing to pay $120 for this game?
Yeah. And then when you look at the Game Crafter and you see that it is $120 just for one copy of the game before you even sell it, then you understand why manufacturing at small MOQs is not feasible.
Right.
That's another very good way of testing whether your game is appropriately priced. If it's over $100 at the Game Crafter, you've probably got too many bits in it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of games on Kickstarter, if you would like to check out my game, which is currently on Kickstarter, launched yesterday, we're currently probably about 300 times plus funded, which is great. Thank you very much, everybody out there who supported the game. The game is called Core of Discovery, which is based on a comic book called, unfortunately, Manifest Destiny. Not a great term. It's a whole essay that I wrote that's on the Kickstarter page. If you click on the thing like what's in a name, you can read the essay that I wrote about the name and why we changed it from Manifest Destiny to what it currently is, which is called Core of Discovery. It is basically the story of Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea and all the characters during that expedition from 1805 that crossed across the Louisiana Purchase, basically. And then there's monsters. And so it's an interesting game. It's a very interesting game because it's a fascinating blend of logic, deduction, horror, and survival. And so go ahead, check it out if you'd like it. Share it if you don't think it's for you. If you think it's for other people, you can share that. I'll be writing some other stuff about the issue behind the term Manifest Destiny and the acknowledging that there is harm when words are used, right? So we're doing more about that later on. Cool. Let's see. If you would like to chat with me, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Senfeng Lim. Kat, where can people find you?
Drea Rink on all the things.
You can find both of us at Maple Syrup on all the things. And I hear that you, Corey, are available at Concept Medley on Instagram, Facebook, X, all those things, right?
That's correct.
But Donnie's in control.
Donnie's only X. I think I do the other two.
You do the other two? Donnie's not pulling his weight. Although he is dealing with people on X. So
Yeah, I
maybe.
was gonna say I was happy with him taking that one.
If you'd like to help keep the lights on here at the Maple Syrup Show, please do reach out patreon.com/maple syrup. That helps us do what we do, which is wonderful. And hey, there's Ram.
Hey, that's my boss.
Yeah. And oh, hey, Corey, do you have any final advice for the viewers out there? It could be about Dingus Day. It could be like don't throw too much water or block the pottery as it comes at you. I don't know.
I'll try to tie it all together. It's easiest to design a game about something you're passionate about, especially because if you're trying to make it thematic, because you are the only one that's going to like really pay attention to those fine details to tie the two things between mechanisms and theme together. And like I said, make a good game first, and those who also know that theme will appreciate it all that much more when they see it as well.
There you go.
That's good.
And, yeah, that's true. And next week we have Jess Andrews coming. We're going to meet a brand new designer. Jess is going to come on the show, tell us about her journey in design in so much as it's happened so far. So she is really not exactly new, but not very old in the game yet. So we're going to talk to Jess about what it's like to be a baby designer, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't even know what the word would be.
I think that's not a bad way of looking
Novice
at it.
designer. We'll find a term for next week. That's our homework. If you can suggest one, please do reach out to us on all the channels and tell us what should we call a person who's like really new to design, right? When we're and maybe even make some relative terms. Like I'm an old head. I don't know. All right, Corey, it was great having you on the show. Very nice to see you. Thank you for telling us all about Dingus Day because it is a fascinating thing.
And your props too. I appreciate that you took the time to bring props as well. Props for the props.
Very enjoyable. And to everybody out there in Maple Syrup Land, we'll see you next week. Evan, Rem, Donnie, George. Who else was here?
Peter.
A bunch of people. Peter was here as well, right? So we'll see you all later. Thank you very much. See ya. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.